What if the very end of Avengers Endgame wasn't actually the end? What if a single sound, something that was hidden in plain sight, was really the beginning of the entire next Marvel saga? Well, today on The Explainer, we are diving deep into a truly mind-bending theory that says a secret scene is about to be added to Endgame, and it's going to change everything we think we know about the MCU's future.
So where does all this come from? It all kicked off with the news that Avengers Endgame is coming back to theaters. But listen, this isn't just some victory lap or a nostalgia trip. The people making these movies are promising something completely new, what they're calling a critical companion to the next massive film, Doomsday. So they're not just adding some deleted scene for fun, they are literally inserting a vital piece of the story that's going to set up everything that comes next.
Alright, to get to the bottom of this, we're going to have to put on our detective hats. First, we'll look at the official statements, see what clues are hiding in their exact wording. Then we'll follow this trail of evidence that leads to a pretty shocking place. And finally, we'll put it all together to understand just how huge the implications are for the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Okay, first things first, let's just set the stage here. On September 25th, Avengers Endgame is coming back to the big screen. Now, usually a re-release is just, well, a re-release. But this time, the team behind the MCU has made some seriously bold promises about what's going to be in this version, and it's got everyone's expectations through the roof.
I mean, you've got Kevin Feige himself, the head of Marvel Studios, making it crystal clear this is not just a rerun with a throwaway scene at the end. He promised a whole new experience with never-before-seen footage. Now, that kind of language, it suggests something important to the story, right? Not just a fun little extra.
And then you have co-director Joe Russo just pouring gasoline on the fire. He calls it a bridge in a critical companion story. But honestly, the most important part of that whole quote is this little phrase right here, in a very unique way. That right there is our first major clue. It's basically a signal that we should be thinking outside the box, that the answer is not going to be the obvious one.
And, the most obvious theory, the one everyone jumped to, was that we just see a little more of Steve and Peggy's dance, which is a really nice thought, but does it really fit that description, a unique and critical bridge? The Russo brothers have always said that final shot of them dancing is sacred. It's the emotional payoff for the entire Infinity Saga. To just interrupt that beautiful, quiet moment for a little epilogue, it just doesn't feel right, especially not when you're trying to set up a threat that's supposed to be even bigger than Thanos. So, okay, if it's not Steve and Peggy, then what on earth could it be? To figure that out, we need to go back and look really closely at the original film, and then check out some brand new evidence that has just popped up. Do you remember this? I mean, really think back. After every single name in the credits rolled, after the music faded out, the screen went black, and the Marvel Studios logo appeared. But there was no music, no epic theme. All you could hear was this rhythmic sound, clink, clink, of a hammer hitting metal. Now, at the time, everyone said it was a tribute to Tony Stark, right? A bookend to the saga, like him building the Mark I armor in that cave. But what if it wasn't just an echo of the past? What if it was a signal from the future?
Now, our next clue comes from a place you'd never expect. The legendary composer Alan Silvestri. I mean, the guy who wrote the Avengers theme, he posted this casual behind-the-scenes photo from a scoring session for the new movie, Doomsday. And just hiding there, right in the background, is the piece of evidence that just blows this entire case wide open.
Okay, look really close at that screen in the back. See the text? It says Interior Armor Room Doomstat. Now, to most people, that probably looks like gibberish, but in the world of filmmaking, that right there is what's called a slug line. And folks, it is a dead giveaway.
A slug line is basically just a little heading in a script. It's a technical instruction that tells the crew exactly where a scene is supposed to be taking place. For us, it's this incredibly rare peek behind the curtain. And the fact that we can see this on the monitor while the composer and the film's editor are working tells us this isn't some idea they're throwing around. This is a finished, important scene that's in the movie.
And the location itself? Doomstad. That's the capital city of Latveria, and it's home to Castle Doom. And who lives in Castle Doom? One of the most iconic, most powerful villains in all of Marvel Comics, who has been completely absent from the MCU until now, Dr. Doom. An armor room in Doomstad? Come on, that can only mean one thing.
So, let's put the pieces together. We have that mysterious hammering sound at the very end of Endgame, and now we have photographic proof of a scene taking place in Dr. Doom's armory. So what happens when you combine those two clues? Well, you get a theory that completely changes the game. And here it is, the whole theory. Just picture it. You're sitting in the theater.
The credits for Endgame finish. The screen is totally black. And then you hear it, that hammering sound. Clank, clank. But this time, it doesn't just fade away. The sound gets louder, clearer, and the black screen dissolves into a new image. A dark, gothic-looking armory. You see a glowing forge, and standing there, hammering a faceplate of armor, is an unmasked Victor Von Doom, played by Robert Downey Jr. The hammering wasn't an echo of Tony in a cave. It is the birth of Doom, a perfect, dark reflection of the birth of Iron Man.
Now, if this theory is actually true, it is so much more than just a cool surprise. It completely redefines the MCU's next big villain, from his very first moment on screen. His origin isn't just similar to Tony Stark's. It's designed to be this beautiful, poetic, and dark mirror of the man who started the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe.
When Robert Downey Jr.'s return was announced, the only tiny clue we got was this cryptic little phrase, "New mask, same task." This slide really breaks down what that probably means. Tony's whole mission, his obsession, was building a suit of armor around the world. This theory suggests that Victor Von Doom, a version of him from another universe, has the exact same mission. But the threat he's facing is much, much bigger. And his methods are going to be far more extreme. This line, which we heard in the Doomsday trailer, is almost certainly what Doom is saying in this very scene. He's not just monologuing like a classic villain. He's probably speaking to someone he loves, someone in his kingdom as he's forging this armor. He's warning them about a multiversal catastrophe that he has foreseen, something called an incursion. He's not just preparing for a battle, he's preparing for the end of his entire reality.
So who is this version of Doom exactly? Well, all the signs point to him being from an alternate reality, probably the 828 universe. And he's not just evil for the sake of being evil. He's a genius, on the same level as Reed Richards, who has discovered something terrifying. An incursion is when two Earths from different universes start drifting towards each other, and if they collide, both universes are wiped out, gone. Doom sees this coming for his home, and his insane solution? Forge an armor so powerful it can survive the end of the universe, and then, from the broken pieces of dead realities, build a brand new planet for him to rule. Battleworld. But look, to even attempt something as crazy as building a new world from scratch, this version of Dr. Doom has to be way more than just a smart guy in a suit. And from everything that filmmakers have said, and from what's been described in the early footage, he's on a completely different power level, way beyond anything we've ever seen, even Thanos.
Now, you really got to pay attention to the specific words Joe Russo uses here. He says Doom is a scientist, a technologist, and a genius. And then he adds, a magician. Think about it. In the MCU, we've seen characters who are one or the other. Tony Stark is the ultimate technologist. Doctor Strange is the ultimate magician. Doom is a supreme master of both. He has the intellect of Tony Stark, and he wields powerful reality-bending sorcery. That combination makes him a threat unlike any other. And the most unbelievable example of this raw power comes from a shot that was described from a private screening of the trailer. It apparently shows Thor, the god of thunder, throwing his axe, Stormbreaker, right at Dr. Doom's head. And Doom, he just casually lifts two fingers and stops the axe cold, repelling it like it's a toy. To really get why that is so insane, you have to remember what Stormbreaker is. It's not just a big axe. It was forged to be a god-killer weapon. It is so ridiculously powerful that back in Infinity War, it sliced right through a combined concentrated blast from all 6 Infinity Stones at once. The stones literally control reality itself. So for Dr. Doom's armor to just brush Stormbreaker aside means that the magic he has poured into that metal, the power he wields, operates on a level beyond the fundamental laws of a single universe. His power isn't just universal, it's multiversal. So when you take a step back and you look at the whole theory, it's more than just a cool idea. It's incredibly elegant. It creates this perfect poetic connection between the end of one massive saga and the beginning of the next one. It's exactly the kind of long-form storytelling the MCU is famous for. This whole thing really is a masterstroke. It's not just a fan theory. It fulfills every single promise the filmmakers made. It takes a tiny, forgotten detail from Endgame and makes it the first shot of the next saga. It brings back the actor who built this entire universe and recasts him as the man who's going to threaten to burn it all down. It creates this perfect dark mirror to Tony Stark's origin, which forces us to question what even makes a hero. And most importantly, it establishes Doom's incredible power and his complex, maybe even relatable motivations from the very first second he appears on screen. This isn't just a clever plot twist. It is a fundamental shift for the entire MCU. It makes the conflict ahead deeply personal, not just for the characters, but for all of us who have been watching for years. And it leaves us with this one absolutely terrifying question. If the man who started this whole thing as its greatest hero is now its greatest villain, then who in the entire multiverse could possibly stop him? Thanks for watching this deep dive explainer.